From Kern Government Television, welcome to this week's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting, originating from the County Administrative Center located at 1115 Truxtun Avenue, Bakersfield, California. Kern County's vision is to create and maintain a customer-centered county government designed to garner the confidence, support, and trust of the people we serve. Today's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting will convene momentarily.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Supervisor Gleason.
Here.
Supervisor Scrivener.
Here.
Supervisor Maggard.
Here.
Supervisor Couch.
Here.
Supervisor Perez.
Here.
Board reconvene with the starting of the report on actions taken in closed session.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Closed session items 23, 24, 25, 26, and 27 were all held in closed session, and there is no reportable action on any of those. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We'll begin this afternoon's review with a review of the consent agenda. All items listed with a CA above the item number are considered to be routine and non-controversial by county staff. Consent items will be considered first and may be approved by one motion if no member of the board or audience wishes to comment or ask questions. If comment or discussion is desired by anybody, the item may be removed from the consent agenda and may be considered in listed sequence with an opportunity for any member of the public to address the board concerning the item before action is taken. So going through the agenda, starting under Departmental Request, Planning and Natural Resources Department, items 3 and 4, Public Works Department, items 5 through 13, Public Works Department, Building and Development, item 14, Operations and Maintenance, 15 and 16, County Administrative Office, items 20 through 23, General Services Division, item 24, 25, 26, and then 27 through 30, and matters for executive approval, items 31 through 34. Is any member of the public wishing to have a conversation about any of these items before we move on it? Yes, sir.
Am I 2 minutes totally for all
Yes,
of them, or what? Can we raise it to 3?
Sure.
Okay, 3 minutes, all right. Is it gonna be like, from now on, that's gonna be the standard, or is it just for me, or?
It's not just you, sir. No.
Okay, thank you. David, do I need to spell my name again, or?
No.
No.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. David Fluhart. You usually don't start the timer until after I say it, so. David Fluhart, Havilah, 1st District. I want to talk about items 22, 23, 28, and 26. I don't know if they should read it or not, but anyways, 22 is $2,500 for the veterans at Bakersfield College, the club there, and that's a really good week for them. And second of all, I like to try and call the drought up. I've given up the airports, although last week their wonderful park was a really good memorandum of understanding, and it was really good. But for the drought, last time I had mentioned, karma good, leaves of the trees save the nations, last page of the Bible, and I talked about, reading books in the first, middle, last, if you're not going to read it all. Anyways, in the middle of the Bible, it's interesting, today is Election Day, November 8th. And they close at 8 p.m. And when you think about it, that's reminds me of Psalms 118:8, and it's basically, it is better to trust in the Lord than to put confidence in princes or politicians. And that's the end of the book, and that means one thing. But if you go to another good book, personally, I like the library. I bought this one for 25 cents at a library sale, and it's a really good book. But if you look at 1188, and then there's another 8, and if you read that one, it says, "My guidance depends totally on God. I've put my faith in Him." So, when you think about electing and whatnot, and issues, political issues, when the drought comes around, think about today when you vote, and in the future, I don't know, we get 3 big issues: the president, the recreational issue, and number 57. And, don't trust so much in your politicians. It's on the wall. In God we trust. I've said that. We do the right things and work correctly, and we're going to have a lot of good karma good. If not, I don't know. It gets messy. Anyways, the last one is 28 and 26. It's in reference to tax foreclosed land, and it looked like they were 2 repeats. I don't know if we want to combine those into one. I'm not sure. I'm just thinking of economy and efficiency and that kind of thing. But yeah, I wanted to help you advertise that. Coming up soon is tax properties. These are the cheapest ones that you guys are buying for Habitat to off exchange the dumps. I think it's wonderful. Good job. And I'm trying to think of, I guess at the back of it, and I'll save that one for later. Thank you very much, and have a good day.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. Anyone else wishing to make comment on our consent agenda? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the board for comment and review.
Motion on consent.
Second.
Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved, 4 ayes, 1 absent. Supervisor Perez.
Thank you. Brings us to item number 1. Under public presentation, this portion of the meeting is reserved for persons who address the board on any matter not on this agenda, but under the jurisdiction of the board. Board members may respond briefly to statements made or questions posed. They may ask a question for clarification, make a referral to staff for factual information, or request staff to report back to the board at a later meeting. Also, the board may take action to direct the staff to place a matter of business on a future agenda. Speakers are limited to 2 minutes. Please state and spell your name before making a presentation. Anybody wanting to come forward?
David Fluhart, Havilah, 1st District. I wanted earlier this morning to talk about anticipated litigations. Basically, I'd written Mrs. Goldner an email, and she didn't get back to me. It was regarding potholes. Anyways, if we could, I'll pass that forward to Mr. Nations.
That's a document for what, Mrs. Fluhart?
Well, for you guys to receive it and send it to Mr. Nations. It's regarding potholes and claims. There's
Perfect.
The roads are falling apart, so there's more claims, I guess. I just want to know if we're really liable for them.
Thank you.
And this morning, I don't know, I got slammed pretty hard, I thought, and I was going to write a claim, a complaint, and file it, but then I was thinking, that's Mr. Nation's first day, that's not good. And then the last person that filed the claim, you hauled him off. He was up here talking about I was going to sue you, and then get him out of here, security. But anyways, I got a whole bunch of emails that aren't getting answered. I don't know, and the claim was going to be based on the fact that I wrote a really nice little letter, and I thought it covered a lot of issues that Kern County's having. And I thought it'd be a benefit for you guys to see it, and you disseminated it to the people so they could, understand the concepts. And it was pretty much right on the head of the nail of what was on this week. And I'm just upset it's not on the agenda. So I feel like I'm a little bit censored here. And then, of course, the election, those 3 options, president, recreational marijuana, or Prop 57, it's either going to be status quo or worse, but awesome possibilities in those. I don't know, we'll have to see. And lastly, in honor of the election, up in Havilah, we're going to have a parade. It's called Fun in the Future. So if you want to come out, it's Saturday at 11 o'clock to 11:30. And I just want to invite everybody, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Suha. And it's not our job to censor you, and we're not trying to censor you. All we're trying to do is keep a controlled, flowing meeting intact, and that's the purpose of why we're doing what we're doing. It has nothing to do with censoring you in any way. I'm sorry if you take it that way. Anyone else? Public presentations? Okay, we'll bring it back for board member announcements or reports. Board members. Seeing none, it brings us to item 17 under the County Administrative Office. Proposed amendment number 2 to agreement number 869, TAC 2011 with BC Laboratories, Inc. to extend term to December 31st, 2017. Mr. Nyland.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, good afternoon. Amy Espinoza from my office will handle this matter.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Included in the adoption of the fiscal year 2016-17 budget, your board authorized funding for lease financing of patrolled utility vehicles and other specialized vehicles for the Sheriff's Department. Today, we bring forth the first of 2 leases. The lease before you includes financing for 55 vehicles, including 41 patrol utility vehicles and 1 SWAT-equipped truck and a Bearcat armored vehicle. The purchasing division will be soliciting bids for the vehicles and will issue purchase orders upon your board's approval. In order to identify the lowest cost financing for this purchase, the County Administrative Office disseminated a request for bids to 46 financing companies, including 1 local financing company. 2 firms submitted competitive responses to the request for bids, with interest rates ranging from a low of 1.484% to a high of 2.14%. The proposal that provided the lowest interest rate was determined to be the best value for the county, and that was submitted by Bank of America Public Capital Corp. The principal amount of the financing is $3.3 million, and the term is 5 years at a fixed rate of 1.484%, which will result in 10 semi-annual payments of $343,616.62, with a total interest cost of approximately $136,000 over the term of the financing. Under the terms of the amendment, the financing proceeds will be held by Bank of America in an escrow account, and the amendment provides for all interest earned on the financing proceeds to be used to cover the cost of the account or to be used as a prepayment for the lease. Therefore, it is recommended that your board adopt the resolution approving the execution of Amendment Number 1 to Master Equipment Lease Purchase Agreement with Bank of America Public Capital Corp., and authorize the chairman to sign, or any member of the board in the absence of the chairman, the schedule of property number 2, the internal escrow and control agreement, and all related lease financing documents in the principal amount of $3.3 million. This concludes my presentation, and we're available if you have any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Espinoza. Let's open the public hearing and let's see what the public has to say about this. If you have something to say, please come on down and offer your thoughts.
David Fluhart, Havilah, 1st District. Like I said in the morning, I was going to ask if these are the cute Caprices or the armored Explorers. It was an issue a couple weeks ago, and then as we talk about it, you know, I don't know. She had mentioned Bearcat in the deal, and I was wondering if that's the same Bearcat that we saw a couple of days ago, or if we're just stockpiling Bearcats. And you know, I'm just, I guess that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Okay, seeing nobody, I'll close the public hearing and bring back to the board for comment consideration. Supervisor Maggart.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Nyland, Ms. Espinoza, does this lease arrangement fit the parameters of what goes through Kern Asset Leasing Corporation for them to review and recommend back to us?
Supervisor Maggart, through the chair, it does not go through Kern Asset Leasing.
Well, help me, if you can tell me on the spur of the moment, what would require it to go through Kern Asset Leasing before it comes to us?
A larger scale financing. Currently, what we have under Kern Asset Leasing are certificates of participation and a private placement loan for the airport terminal.
That's right. I used to be on Kern Asset Leasing, and the only time vehicles came was they were trying to put vehicles under a COP, certificate of participation, which was a terrible idea. So that's the converse of this. Okay, thank you. I would recommend approval of item number 17. I would motion approval of item 17.
We have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes.
Motion is approved. All ayes.
Brings us to item number 18, update on countywide strategic initiatives.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, as staff are working their way to the staff dais, we'll have a PowerPoint presentation for you in just 1 second. Thank you very much. Again, good afternoon. I'd like to talk to you about a project that your board has initiated. On August 30th, 2016, your board approved the formation of a standing committee for strategic initiatives. That standing committee has become what we call Kern Leads. And LEADS is an acronym that says leadership, efficiency, accountability, discipline, and strategy. Please, the next slide. Okay, one of the things we want to make sure, and this is something that the committee developed, was underpinnings for success. And these are pillars for our LEADS project. And the first one is continuous improvement in all things that we do. And the second one is respect for employees. In every activity that we have, these are the pillars that we judge our success by and we judge our efforts by. Thank you. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, on August 30th, your board approved the formation of this standing committee and also selected Chairman Gleason and Vice Chairman Couch to participate on the committee. To date, the committee has met twice. The first meeting of the committee was held on September 29, 2016, and resulted in the members approving the governance structure and initiatives the committee would focus upon. On October 19, 2016, the second committee meeting was held, and the committee was expanded to include 3 members of the public, Mr. Gene Boylan, a representative of business, Dr. Michael Way, a representative of the California State University, Bakersfield, and Mrs. Lauren Skidmore, who is a representative of the local citizen association. Next slide, please. The objectives of the Kern Leads project, the standing committee, is that Kern County will become the most cost-effective county in California by the year 2020. Now, I use the word example there because we have yet to refine this as our goal, but it is, to date, our objective of where we're headed. And we will measure this as, and it will be defined as a formula related to output versus input, delivering the best possible services while consuming the fewest taxpayer resources available. Next slide, please. In order to achieve that objective and to be the very best, we have 4 major thrusts. The first one is a strategic financial plan. The next one would be lean management concepts, and contracted operational studies, financial improvement teams, and we list employee engagement because that's part of our financial improvement teams and our efforts. Next slide, please. I will now ask Nancy Lawson to continue this presentation.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, the objective of the strategic financial plan is to communicate your board's spending priorities for the next 3 to 5 years and how those priorities will be funded. As you know, the general fund faced a $45 million deficit in the fiscal year 2016-17 budget, and there is still $30 million to be resolved. A strategic financial plan is derived from the board's current approved countywide strategic plan that was prepared with input from the community and other stakeholders. The board may consider refining the mission, vision, and value statements during the review process. We have provided your board today a proposed Kern County strategic plan, a 1-page front and back summarized document derived from the countywide strategic plan, which will be used as a tool to categorize county programs. And this is the document that's front and back that you have. This document was also provided to the Strategic Initiatives Committee that will consider and provide input on its refinement. There are 4 main initiatives identified in the plan: keeping our communities safe, healthy communities and environment, prosperous and thriving community, and responsible and efficient government. The financial plan requires the analysis of mandated levels of service and discretionary programs for consideration of where your board may consider reducing services to ultimately deal with the $30 million deficit facing the general fund. You may recall that the initial 4-year mitigation plan was presented across board or across department reductions of 5% for fiscal year 2016-17, with the remaining 10% needed from all departments over the next 3 years. Your board and stakeholders expressed concern that equal across-department reductions could jeopardize Kern County's historic priority spending for public safety departments. The committee will review the strategic financial plan for comments and suggestions. However, your board will be tasked ultimately with determining what reductions will need to be made either through elimination or reduction of discretionary programs to balance the fiscal year 2017-18 budget. It is anticipated that several budget sessions will be proposed in February to publicly discuss the priorities and hear about the programs from the departments. The strategic financial plan is one of 4 initiatives currently underway. Senior Analyst Amy Espinoza will brief you on the second initiative of lean management concepts.
So to start with lean management concepts, concept is an idea. And within those, our first is innovation should not cost money, especially now in our budget times. We hope to find innovations that don't cost money. The second is to empower employees to identify problems, propose solutions, and most importantly, make sure ideas turn into reality. And innovations from employees allow problems to be solved by subject matter experts. By allowing frontline workers to innovate, to see where they can save money, we have a better chance of them actually following through with those ideas and seeing that they actually occur. Next slide, please. A lean management culture. The definition of culture is the quality in a person or society or county that arises from a concern for what is regarded as excellent. And here in part of Kern Leads, that continuous process improvement is the culture that we want to cultivate. We want to add value to the county by respecting and developing our employees. And of course, the ultimate goal is to deliver efficient and effective services to our citizens. Now I'll turn the presentation over to CAO Senior Analyst Jason Wiebe to provide an overview of contractual, operational studies, and financial improvement teams.
Good afternoon, Chairman, members of the board. Analyst Jordan Go from my office, and I will briefly cover the last 2 areas related to the county's strategic initiatives. First, I'd like to briefly mention the potential for contracted operational studies for both the fire department and sheriff's office. We have met with the sheriff's office and had discussions with the fire chief related to doing some contracted studies, and we do have some general agreement on the outcomes we want to achieve. Some broad objectives that we share: data-driven analysis of workload, identify staffing and deployment levels, analyze department organizational structures, and set benchmarks with comparable counties. Our office had initially identified an organization that we thought might be able to achieve this. However, there were some concerns related to especially the last portion of those objectives. Comparable counties. This organization didn't seem to have a lot of experience with California counties that are comparable to Kern. So we continue to work with the Sheriff's Office and Fire Department to find an organization that we can all agree on and be sure is going to provide us the best value. I do believe the Sheriff has already engaged the California Commission on Post to do a study, and we're hopeful that we'll cover much of these, if not all of these areas as well. Lastly, I want to talk about financial improvement teams, or FIT teams. Excuse me. FIT teams will consist of subject matter experts from each areas, such as human resources, budget and finance, IT, auditing and accounting, and program-specific areas. We expect these teams will use continuous improvement techniques and incorporate lean principles in reviewing budgets, services, and programs. And what we think is the most important portion of this effort and any continuous improvement effort are the people involved, the county employees, and Analyst Jordan Go will provide you some information on that.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. As pointed out earlier, employees are one of our greatest resources, and no innovation program would be complete without receiving their input. And being that respect for people is one of the pillars of the lean movement, we want to make sure that we incorporate this into our plan. We really want to be able to talk to employees and get their feedback, and we really need their perspective on how to innovate and to solve problems, since they're the ones that are closest to the front lines. And not only do we want to talk, but we want to empower them through giving them the right tool, which at this point we believe to be a crowdsourcing platform, or in a short word, an interactive suggestion box. And this provides an overview of how it would work, essentially. just easily submitting an idea, getting feedback, having an up or down vote, and then once it receives enough votes, it'll reach a threshold where a subject matter expert would evaluate the idea, look for the problems with implementation, and then work with the person who submitted the idea on how to fix it. But if you notice, the common theme throughout this entire pyramid is transparency, because we want to make sure that the people who are submitting ideas can see that they're being listened to and that their ideas are actually being acted on. And hopefully once we go through the process, we receive the raw data, and we filter it, the best ideas will rise to the top. And we also created a short video to give you a sense of how that may look.
Thank you. Jason, are you responsible for that?
No, sir, you know better that Mr. Go would be responsible for that. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
That concludes our presentation. Mr. Nylon, I think.
There's another slide, I believe, that needs to be shown, so if you could forward to that slide, I'd appreciate it. And if you could, yeah. There we go. Just, yeah, there you go. That'll be fine. All right. First of all, I want to thank staff for being here. I want to thank the committee. I want to thank the citizens' involvement. What we're endeavoring to do is something new for Kern County. It's something that's not really for the meek. It's going to take a lot of effort, a lot of energy, but I think this is the way and the path to help us through this budget crisis, but better yet, help us emerge on the other side, a more efficient, more innovative county, one that leads the state, and that's why we chose the name Kern Leads. But it won't be easy. This is a quote that I recently saw, and it says, "The biggest threat to innovation is internal politics and an organizational culture which doesn't accept failure and or doesn't accept ideas from the outside and or cannot change." And these are things that we're going to guard against. These are things that we're going to focus upon. And these are things that I believe if we can work through, we can help accelerate the process for Kern County and for us to truly lead in the state of California. That concludes our presentation. Again, this is just a quick update on the activities of the Standing Committee. We have much more to come, much more effort in place, but we'd certainly be pleased to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nylon. I don't see any questions right up top, so let's open this up for public comment. Is anybody in the public wishing to make comment on this idea? Please come forward.
Good afternoon, David Fluart, Havilah, 1st District. Countywide strategic initiatives. I wrote an email and it never got answered. I thought I asked some pretty good questions regarding the costs and whatnot. We just heard from Mr. Nylon that it was going to be, you know, I'm trying to find where I wrote it, too many notes, an intensive type of project. And my email wasn't answered, and quite honestly, I don't think you guys are going to answer any of my questions, even if they're good, if we are stacking up Bearcats in the sheriff's department, or you know, if the cars are armored or whatnot. You know, you guys are ignoring my questions. But here's an email that had some good questions that I wasn't quite answered, but it's an issue there. And you know, I really like the program. We got college kids out here, and let me tell you, that it reminded me of college. You know, every class has got a 2-minute little thing that you got to talk on, and that was it. And you know, I'm enthusiastic for Plan A because I don't know if you got a Plan B. Plan A looks kind of thin to me, and if it doesn't work, yeah, we'll be number 1, all right. I'm not sure. So when you look at this, you know, this whole plan is an inward search on what you guys as a structure is doing, and I would suggest that you guys should look outside of your structure. You know, I mean, on the one hand, that's one solution, but on another solution, look someplace else. And if there's going to be strategic initiatives, you're going to have to consider marijuana, regardless if that thing passes today or not. It's still going to be here. I know you guys hate to hear it, and y'all go, oh, again, but guess what? It's not going away. And I know you guys got a plan for whatever happens today and decides for the future. But yeah, you guys need to figure that out. If you're worried about not, you know, if you got the right to allow Golden or Nylon to take outside suggestions, that was one of the issues. You know, somebody gives a suggestion, you give an up or down vote. In fact, if you guys want to do that right now, yay on marijuana, yay on there. What can I say? But yeah, I'm really thrown off because the timer hasn't started. I took off my glasses, so I can't read my notes. Yeah, Plan A, number 1. I suggest Plan B. Oh, if you don't like the outside idea, I don't know if you can do it. Fiscal emergency, you guys passed it last year. Might not be a bad idea to look at it. I know. Did you want to start the timer, or am I just going to talk until you start?
Hopefully you're going to respect our...
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Like I said, it threw me off. Yeah, think of a Plan B. I'll be there on Thursday for the meeting. You know, sorry. Have a good day.
Well, I appreciate your attendance at the last meeting. He was there. I wish we had more. Anybody else wishing to comment on this issue before I close the public hearing? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the board. Let me kick it off, some thoughts. This is exciting. This is an opportunity for this county to become something that we talk about, but now we're actually trying to quantify and define, and we're going to be able to measure our success in achieving what we're dreaming. They're no longer going to be goals and objectives. There are going to be tasks, there are going to be processes, and over a period of time, you're going to see a level of improvement in the way we deliver services at a lower cost. And theoretically, that process improvement will never end. That's the idea. This is not a people-oriented thrust. This is a process-oriented thrust where we're going to look at, we're going to allow our people to look at each and every process they do and take and analyze critical pathways to their success. What is their success, and how do you get there in the most efficient way possible? This is a risk. The majority of enterprises that undertake this don't do well, don't succeed. But the ones that do succeed are remarkable, and we have shining examples of success here in Kern County, ERA being one of them, and Mr. Voiland has offered to lead us and help us getting to a point where we can implement new process-oriented management techniques that are going to help us achieve this state of continuous process improvement. There was issue at our last board meeting about government being able to succeed in process improvement, and I can assure you that it does work in government. I've seen it work in government. I've seen government change. I've seen government improve because of embracing this new philosophy of empowering your people, critical, analytical thought as to what you do every day and why you do it, and measurements, being able to measure and quantify everything you do to hit your desired objectives. So there's no doubt this can succeed in and out of government. It's a question of how we embrace it. And this process is a top-down approach, meaning from this board through our management and to percolate downward into every corner of our organization. We need to embrace it. We need to keep it moving. We need to inspire and motivate people to realize that it can become better than they are. They can do a better job, and we can have our customers, which are the taxpayers, be the major beneficiary of our efforts. We have a terrible, horrible budget. We just got through one. Who knows what's going to be next year? This is one way for us to proactively engage. I'm not suggesting, nor is anyone on this board suggesting, that if we embrace this policy, next year's budget's problems are going to go away. This isn't a short-term fix. This is a cultural change that we will derive benefit from years down the road. There'll be low-hanging fruit. We'll grab onto that. We'll make this change as best we can. But this effort is not a short spurt to a sprint. This is a long marathon that we're all going to take together, and we're all going to embrace, and we're going to all benefit from, because I believe, as these board members have stated they believe, that we can actually turn the corner. We can take this time in our history and turn it into the best thing that's ever happened to Kern County, because 5 years from now, we can look back and say, we made some really high-quality decisions by respecting people and demanding continuous process improvement. I think that's about all the bloviating I wanted to do, but I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood that it's a risk. There's no guarantees. Budget's going to be tough. But we're going to embrace a new philosophy of managing. We're going to embrace a new policy or philosophy of empowering our employees, and we're going to succeed. Supervisor Couch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wish you could get excited about it and get behind it. I appreciate your attitude towards that, and I hope that it permeates the whole organization. And I know that some of our staff is excited about it and on fire about it. And I think there's a couple of key important points to make, but I don't want to go on very long. One comment was made earlier, and a lot of times, at least I don't address comments that I think don't need to be addressed, but I think it's important to note that 3 of the 5 members of that committee are not elected people, and they are not they're not Kern County employees, they are public members. And so there is an effort to go outside and ask for the help of people that aren't in government but are affected by it. Our employees need to hear that no one is going to lose a job because of this effort. And if we find ways to save money, we have got plenty of other things for those employees to do if we don't want them to do what they're currently doing. So I don't want any employee to think that their job is at risk because of this effort. And I also don't want any of our employees to be afraid of failing. Just fail fast and then move on. But failure has to be part of the equation, and we have to be willing to accept some failures. Otherwise, we're not going to get any successes out of this. And so I hope the employees embrace it, and I hope they move forward with that in mind, that they can try something, they can fail, and they're not going to get punished for it, and they're not going to lose their job if they figure out how to do something more efficiently. So you can't make a motion, so I'll make a motion to receive and file the report, and thank you all, staff, for your work on this and for your continued effort.
Thanks, Supervisor Couch. Supervisor Maggart.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm happy to second that motion, and I wanted to specifically thank Gene Voiland and Dr. Michael Way at Lawrence Skidmore and whoever else has been involved in the process. We have relied upon, particularly Gene, a number of times for innovation and just thinking outside the box. I'm grateful, Gene, that you're willing to come and do that with us once again, and all the citizens of Kern County will benefit from it. But to Dr. Way and Lauren as well, thank you very much for your help with this.
Thank you, Supervisor Maggart. Supervisor Scribner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I want to thank the two members of our board that have been participating in this effort. Mr. Nylon, everything that your department has done, you've shown great leadership on this, and then all of our department heads that have been willing to participate. It's crucial for us that we find efficiencies that save money and help us maximize the service delivery to our constituents, and that we're prioritizing those expenditures. We know what's going on with the price of oil, but we're going to have a conversation in a few minutes in regards to SGMA that potentially threatens our ag industry tremendously. And then, of course, if the Kern County Employees Retirement Association decides to drop the assumed rate of return by a quarter point, we're looking at another $20 million annual hit to our budget. So it's clear that we can't do things the way that we have in the county in the future. We need to find ways to, as we've been talking about, become more efficient, become more streamlined, and figure out a better way to deliver ultimately that service to the public. So this is crucial. There probably isn't anything more important that we're doing than this right here in this time. And so I want to applaud everybody who's been involved, and I am wholeheartedly in support. Thank you.
So we have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes.
Please reconfirm your vote. Thank you. The motion is approved. All ayes.
Okay. That brings us to item number 19, I think. Yes, item number 19. Authorize supporting a joint application to the California Department of Water Resources by members of the Kern Groundwater Authority to become a groundwater sustainability agency for portions of the Kern County Subbasin of the Tulare Lake Groundwater Basin, and with Kern County as a member of the GSA representing the unmanaged areas. Who's going? Ms. Christensen or Nancy, you first?
We on? There we go. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. As you stated, this item is to request the Board of Supervisors approve a joint application to the California Department of Water Resources by members of the Kern Groundwater Authority to become a Groundwater Sustainability Agency, or GSA, for the Kern County Subbasin, with Kern County serving as a member of the GSA representing the unmanaged areas of the groundwater basin. The Board of Supervisors has expressed a strong interest in sustainable groundwater management. For many months, we've been talking about this issue in a variety of ways. Thus far, 5 different GSAs have been filed in the Kern County Subbasin, which is the subbasin in our county. That's the Kern River GSA, the Greenfield County Water District, Buena Vista Water Storage District, West Kern Water District, and Delano Early Mart Irrigation District. They have all filed notices. Other water districts and public agencies are anticipating filing for their respective jurisdictions. The Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, or SGMA, allows eligible agencies such as the county to elect to become a GSA for certain groundwater basins such as ours. SGMA states that, quote, in the event that there is an area within a higher medium priority basin that is not within the management area of a groundwater sustainability agency, the county within which that unmanaged area lies will be presumed to be the groundwater sustainability agency for that area. Now that quote in SGMA indicates that we are presumed. We are not specifically obligated. We can defer to the state, but at this point we have been moving along anticipating that the county would be helping and representing the unmanaged areas in the subbasin. There's about 500,000 acres of land in the undistricted or unmanaged areas of Kern County. And that is the area that, or about that area that we are suggesting that a GSA be filed. The Kern Groundwater Authority, which the county as a member, has asked its members to communicate their intentions with regard to a GSA filing. They've asked which of their members have interest in joining together to be a GSA for a portion of the subbasin where there are no plans to file a GSA elsewhere. For instance, I mentioned 5 other GSAs have been filed. There are others planning. So the Kern Groundwater Authority is trying to get commitments from folks that aren't going to file themselves to file a larger GSA filing with the state. The timing of this request is critical because the application to the Department of Water Resources requires detailed maps and technical information that takes significant time and effort to assemble. As you know, the deadline for submitting GSA applications to the state is June 30th, 2017. The KGA Board of Directors has asked for a response from the county and other members of the Kern Groundwater Authority to state their intentions on filing with the state. The KGA staff has stated that if the county decides to withdraw prior to the application at a later date, there will be time to do so if that is necessary. It's expected the application will be completed sometime in early 2017, perhaps earlier. Therefore, it is recommended that your board approve preparation of a joint application to the California Department of Water Resources by members of the Kern Groundwater Authority to become a Groundwater Sustainability Agency, or GSA, for portions of the Kern County Subbasin of the Tulare Lake Groundwater Basin with Kern County as a member of the GSA representing the unmanaged areas. That concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Christensen. Appreciate it. I see nothing coming from the board, so we'll open up the public hearing and ask for any member of the public who wishes to comment on this item. Now's your time. Come on down.
Good afternoon. My name is Martin Nichols. I'm the interim general manager at the Lamont Public Utility District. I'm the latest victim down there. And I am here at the request of Supervisor Perez to talk with you a little bit about the situation that we find ourselves in Lamont. As you know, we're a small public agency. We've got 10 employees. We've got 8 wells. We serve about 20,000 people. And we really don't have any other supply than our groundwater to serve our customers. In August, at my recommendation, the Board of Directors agreed to ask the Kern River GSA to allow us to join them. We did that for a couple of reasons, maybe principally because we're too small and don't have the resources to form a GSA or prepare a plan and obviously implement and administer a plan on our own. Second, you know, we felt it was in our best interest to partner with them and Kern Delta for a surface supply of water that would help minimize the impacts on our small community. We'll move forward to November, last Thursday, and our request was on the agenda for the Kern River GSA to join their agency, and they declined to act. They basically said they didn't want to let us join until the potential conflict between the Kern Groundwater Authority and the Kern River Groundwater Authority was resolved. Those jurisdictional issues set aside that somehow that wasn't going to happen. Well, we find ourselves, you know, sort of caught in the middle here at this point in time. We ought to be clear that we're not going to form a GSA. We're not going to complete a plan, and we need to become a member of one of the other agencies. At that meeting, they said, go talk to your supervisor. So I made an appointment, went to talk to Supervisor Perez, and she asked me to come and tell my story to you here today. My purpose today is just let you know the situation that one of the small agencies finds itself in this bigger battle of how you're going to implement SGMA in Kern County, and recognize that you know, that there are some folks out there that don't have any other resources than to partner with somebody else. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir.
Mick.
Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me, Chairman. Thank you, Chairman. Have you had an opportunity to speak with Mr. Christensen?
I have.
Okay. And Mr. Christensen, can you comment at this time, please?
through Chair Supervisor Perez, that is absolutely correct. We have had a discussion. We've been at some same meetings. I think I've been down to the Lamont PUD maybe right as you got there or prior, right about that time. And
you were there the night that we acted to join, so.
That's right. And so he is correct. I was at the same meeting. The Kern River GSA, I think, is very open to having them join, and it makes a lot of sense because their water source comes from Kern Delta, who's a member, and so I understand the logic behind their holding off on that filing because they, as they understand it, they're filing with the state. Basically, once we can resolve that situation with Kern River GSA and that overlap is lifted, they would only have a couple of days until their GSA is finalized. By adding Lamont or anyone else to that, they would be starting the clock again. At least they believe that the 90-day clock would begin and they would have to start over again. So I think that's the reason why they're saying they want to hold off. And I understand. Although it's not directly related to the item we're talking about here, it is indirectly related. It's our desire to lift that overlap as well. We hope that's going to happen pretty quickly.
Okay, so next steps regarding LPUD would be what exactly?
Well, I think they just need to wait for us to keep communicating with us and wait for the county and the Kern River GSA to resolve their concerns, which we're discussing. And I think I spoke to him about that. And hopefully, very soon Kern River GSA will finalize their application with the state, and then they can, as their intention is, they can add Lamont PUD to their GSA. So it's going to take a little time, but I think that can happen relatively quickly. I think there's nothing they can do right now other than just wait until that is resolved.
Do you know if the matter's been agendized again?
With the county or someone else?
No, with the folks that denied the addition.
They have a monthly, pardon me, through the chair, they have a monthly meeting. So when we just had a meeting last Thursday, I believe, Wednesday or Thursday. So they haven't set the agenda yet, but I suspect it'll be on there again.
Okay. Can you, I know you can't speak directly to Mr. Christensen from here, my apologies for the awkwardness of that, but can you comment on the remarks that have been made by staff or provided to the board by staff?
Yes, I think I understood that to be really the only course ahead of us. But of course, we're hanging out there in the wind without a clear path to move forward, and are anxious to get this matter resolved. I mean, the next 6 or 7 months will pass very, very quickly, and we're not in any position to move forward without a partner. And just wanted to have you aware of that situation and seek your goodwill in terms of working out a workable compromise.
Thank you very much. We'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Chairman, thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Couch, I see your name here.
Well, I just wanted to make the comment that this is my opinion, mine only, but I would anticipate that we resolve the issue that you describe as holding you up pretty quickly, because there are other areas that might want to join the Kern River GSA as well, and we want to allow that. So it's not just your district that will be impacted.
Thank you, appreciate that.
And your district, by the way, has already filed a GSA, or no, it had not filed a GSA.
No.
But it was invited to, this predates you, it was invited to join the Kern River GSA, but declined initially.
I'm not aware of that history.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Anything else, Mr. Nichols? Are you done? You okay? You get off what you need? Thank you for coming, Mr. Nichols. So, take away from that, Mr. Christensen, as you're working with Mr. Nichols and that PUD, understand what's going on, and you're going to keep them appraised of exactly what we're doing in the relationship with us with the Kern River GSA as we move forward, so they'll be able to take advantage of our actions.
Mr. Chair, that's very correct.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that forward. Comment period is still open, so anybody wishing to make comment, come on down.
Hi, Beatrice Sanders, Kern County Farm Bureau. I just wanted to say on behalf of the Kern County Farm Bureau, thank you for considering taking on these white areas. Though we represent growers on both the white areas and non-white areas, we know how challenging this process will continue to be. So we just wanted to say thank you, and feel free to use the Farm Bureau as a outreach tool or anything else that you see fit. Thanks.
Thank you.
Greg Wegas, representing the Whitelands Committee that's been formed in the county, representing 400,000 acres of whitelands that are not that are farmed and not irrigated, and 28,000 acres of irrigated whitelands. And I want to thank you guys for moving forward, representing our group in the Sigma process, as we needed direction to move forward, and having you guys be in a leadership role as a GSA over the whitelands allows us to make plans moving forward so that we can meet deadlines that are approaching. So I appreciate your guys' willingness to take on the whitelands and the GSA. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm pretty much going to just repeat everything Greg just said, but also really want to thank Alan Christensen for all of the effort that you have done with us. We greatly appreciate it. The board, you guys have stepped up. We greatly appreciate this, as well as the whiteland areas. And we look to work collaboratively with all of you, and we cannot thank you enough. So have a good.
For the record, your name?
Oh, it's Patty Bray.
Okay.
Thanks.
David Fluhart, Havelock First District. I remember a long time ago, I came in here and I made a comment like, it looks like a short agenda today, and you're, Mr. Gleason, you're like, kind of laughed at me, you know, and it blew up that day, and it got really terrible, and I don't know, and we're in the middle of a drought thing, and I read some books and this and that, and Karma Good, you guys are, you know, with Plan A, with the Countywide Strategic Initiative, I feel good about Plan B. You guys know, it's forward. It's a good thing. And ultimately, I know we win in the end. Do you remember a long time ago I gave you that big map? I drew out a map about 50 years in the future. So I think back about that, and piece of cake. Don't worry about it. We got it. Drought's gonna be over. Karma Good. Piece of cake. All right. Thank you very much, and have a good day.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing and bring this issue back to the board for comment and consideration. Supervisor Couch, start us off.
Thank you. First of all, I want to make a motion to adopt the staff's recommendation, but I think there's some things that we want to communicate to the Kern Groundwater Authority, and I'll express them this way, whether the board wants to make them conditions of the county's membership of that GSA or not, but at least expressing our strong preference. And that is, and I'm going to call it the Kern Groundwater Authority GSA. I don't know that they're going to end up calling it that, but that's what I'm referring to it as. That the Kern Groundwater Authority act as one GSA, it's our strong preference, and that it operate under a joint powers agreement, and for it to not be sort of a coordinating agency that operates under an MOU of multiple GSAs. Also, I think we should express our strong preference that our membership is going to be contingent upon some sort of a funding mechanism that would keep the county's general fund protected, whether that's, whatever that is, we need to keep the county's general fund protected, and however we need to structure that, we should express our strong preference that's the way we would like to be a member in whatever shape that takes. I don't know how we can include those thoughts in our, so help me work on that, because I think I'm the one that's going to have to deliver that message. I think, is it Monday that the KGA meets before our next meeting? Okay. So there's a motion that we move forward with this, but expressing our strong preference on those items. Thank you.
Okay, I see anybody's keen, so I'm gonna key and give you my thoughts. I want to see if I understand this in McLeeson terms. We want the Kern Groundwater Authority, we want to become a member of the Kern Groundwater Authority. We already are, but we want to formalize that as a representative of the white space. And in return, we want the, we're asking that the JPA is one, the Kern Groundwater Authority is one GSA for the basin, or for the, that we're going to join, it acts as one GSA with a JPA, not an MOU, correct? I see everybody nodding their heads over this, that's good. We didn't talk about indemnification, did we? There's things we want to indemnify ourselves in any way, shape, or form?
Sure. Mr. Chair, yes. However form that takes, there might be, and we haven't had discussions with the Kern Groundwater Authority about what kind of insurance they have. How do they transfer their risk? I believe that they will get to that point in some way, so we need to probably add that to the mix. As far as indemnification legally, I'd have to turn to counsel for that.
So we're going to have a conversation about that. We're going to be talking about that, and we'll shape that the best way that we can. But it's ill-defined as of today. But we need some sort of indemnification, correct?
Yeah, we do.
Last thing is, I think, Mr. Couch, you said that the Kern Groundwater Authority can expect us to join, but we're also going to try to shape a membership mechanism that's going to protect our general fund. So we don't know exactly how we're going to do that, but we're going to try to create that membership that, you know, gives the Kern Groundwater Authority and the people in the white space adequate representation as defined and required by SGMA. Plus, it's going to give our general fund some protections that we so desperately need. Is that fair enough to what you were saying, Supervisor Couch?
I think so. I think it's just more of a, sort of in the interest of full disclosure, I would term it more like this. We want to join, we want to be a member, but we have to protect our general fund, and if there's a 2018 election that is not successful, if for some reason we cannot obtain that type of funding, then we may not be a member. It's just, and we may try and try and try. I don't foresee us giving it sort of a half-hearted shot. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. That's not what I'm suggesting. But I think everyone needs to go into it with their eyes wide open that we need to protect our general fund, and that means ultimately that landowners are going to have to be asked to step up. And if they don't, I don't know that we can shoulder that burden, and probably should not, on behalf of all the other taxpayers in Kern County.
Thank you, Supervisor Couch. Supervisor Scribner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm in support of the preferences, the strong preferences that Supervisor Couch laid out. As far as the structure, a one GSA where we're a member with a JPA as the structure. But our participation, for me, it is contingent upon us protecting the general fund from the expenses that could be incurred either through the management of the GSA and ultimately the implementation of the GSP, or if that means lawsuits that might arise, because we can't have this participation put at risk funding that goes to our sheriff's department, our fire department, our parks, our libraries, et cetera. We just had a conversation that entailed our efforts to streamline our operations so we can provide those services and others like them as efficiently and cost effectively as possible. And so entering it into another venture that potentially puts those departments at risk is not something that I'm willing to entertain. However, I do want to step up and help represent these undistricted lands, these white areas, to the extent that's prudent for us to do so. And I think that we can find a way to do it. I think that our other agency partners will work with us, but that is something that is certainly critical for us. And so I also want, in addition to staff having those discussions, look more into the possibility of us forming perhaps some other type of an agency, whether that's an enterprise fund or a CSA like we have with some of our sewer plants. There's several different examples that we have here at the county of ways in which this board sits as another board that's representing a separate entity. And so I would like staff to look at that as a mechanism to shelter the general fund from this endeavor. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. We have a motion, if I remember correctly. Did we have a second? So we have a motion and we don't have a second.
Second, and congrats to everyone. Thank you for your hard work and genuine good faith collaboration. The hard work of Mr. Christensen and many others from the county, I feel like we're getting this done. The impossible, seemingly. So thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes.
Motion is approved. All ayes.
I think that brings us to the end. It does. That brings us to adjourn to Tuesday, November 15th, 2016 at 9 a.m.